The Flash battles new villains on a weekly basis. However, most of them aren't especially memorable and easily brought down by the superhero and his team. Then there's the Trickster, played by Mark Hamill of Star Wars fame. Welcome back, Binger fans. The Flash is a world teeming with superpowered metahumans and those who are just trying to keep up, so it's no surprise that Central City has its fair share of noteworthy villains. While some are just in it for personal gain, others have loftier goals. No matter what they want though, Team Flash is there to take on the latest threat. In this video, we're ranking the most powerful villains the Flash has encountered. Fasten your seatbelts, it's gonna be a bumpy run. Fans couldn't help being skeptical when news hit that the Flash would be bringing comic book villain King Shark to TV. After all, he's a giant humanoid shark. Most fans figured his transition to the small screen would be a disaster, yet the show did a surprisingly good job with the character. The hulking great white with legs is definitely a terrifying sight to behold. His look alone makes him like no other villain on The Flash or TV, and in terms of brute strength, King Shark is a formidable foe. However, he isn't higher up on the list because that strength isn't backed up by much strategy. King Shark was a man named Shay Lambden before he became the meta, but now that he's morphed into his new form, he's lost a lot of his humanity. Instead, his actions are the result of mere animal impulse, which makes him fairly easy to best. Also, being half shark makes it necessary for him to constantly return to water, a big drawback when you're fighting land dwellers like those at Star Labs. Of course, King Shark has also been redeemed by the power of love. The character had been working with a trainer who he had developed feelings for to access his repressed human side. As a result, he was genuinely remorseful about the things he'd done as King Shark. So when Gorilla Grodd attacked Central City, King Shark gives up the metacure Team Flash had offered him to take on Grodd. It was a nice arc for a character who has largely been a one-note villain in the past. From the moment Leonard Snart, aka Captain Cold, appeared early on in the first season of The Flash, he was a fan-favorite character. Snart wasn't a metahuman or a speedster. He wasn't really even a threat to Team Flash. What he had going for him was a lot of attitude and a gun that shoots ice. Snart didn't want to rule the world, and he had no desire to hurt anyone. He just wanted to steal expensive stuff. It was what he was good at, and he didn't feel bad about his chosen vocation. Yet while he definitely was a bad guy, he was much more nuanced than your average antagonist, and it was that nuance that gave him power. He showed flashes of good even before he joined Legends of Tomorrow. He was willing to team up with the Flash when it was needed. Plus, he had a deep connection with his partner Mick Rory, the Heatwave, to his Captain Cold. Snart was always the brain of their operation, but their friendship was more important to both of them than their latest score. Together, they made for a pretty epic pair of rogues. Ultimately, Snart was redeemed during his time with the Legends. He even made the ultimate sacrifice in the end. He is missed. The Flash battles new villains on a weekly basis. However, most of them aren't especially memorable and easily brought down by the superhero and his team. Then there's the Trickster, played by Mark Hamill of Star Wars fame. As the Trickster, Hamill reprises the role he first embodied in the 1990s version of The Flash on CBS. So not only is the character a delight to watch, he's got a legacy behind him. Unlike many of the show's villains, the Trickster has no metahuman powers. Before the metahumans came to be, he was the biggest criminal in Central City. He was in prison by the time the CW's The Flash started. However, Detective Joe West said that he was more dangerous than most of the metahuman criminals created in the particle accelerator explosion. Why? He was a master of manipulation. With just a suggestion, he could convince pretty much anyone to do what he wanted. His plans were often intricate, vicious, and deadly. And yet he executed them with glee. In fact, his dedication to the pursuit of chaos and destruction gives him a single-mindedness that makes him pretty terrifying. Not only is he more difficult to stop than you might expect, he's impossible to reason with. Those characteristics make him a powerful force. The Flash has featured two permutations of Killer Frost. First, we were introduced to the Earth-2 version of the character, a straight-up bad guy who wielded her icy powers for evil. That version served as a foreshadowing to the Earth-1 version of the character, and the evolution of that version was especially important because her alter ego was none other than Team Flash's Caitlin Snow. Caitlin was one of the nicest, most sympathetic characters on The Flash, yet when her Killer Frost side started to manifest, she developed some serious anger issues. On top of that, Killer Frost periodically took over Caitlin's body to carry out her own evil agenda. Caitlin and Killer Frost eventually managed to integrate, and now the two are pretty much besties who share a body. Yet Killer Frost still has some serious bite, not to mention some serious power. It's not that she can just shoot ice from her hands or freeze things with her breath. It's that even as Killer Frost, she wields Caitlin's genius-level intellect. That combination of brains and brawn makes Killer Frost one impressive package. Orland Dwyer and his orphaned niece Grace Gibbons were caught in an accident and imbued with meta powers. Unfortunately, the accident also left Grace in a coma. Dwyer was heartbroken over his niece and blamed the city's metahumans for her plight, so he vowed to take them all out. Cicada pursued his goals with relentless purpose. He was determined to rid the world of metas no matter how they wielded their power, and his meta-powered dagger gave him the means to easily do so. He even bested Team Flash more than once, yet Dwyer still had a soft spot due to his connection to Grace, so when Flash offered him the Metacure, he agreed. What Dwyer didn't know was that when he visited the comatose Grace and spoke about the hatred of metas, she heard every word. That led to Grace becoming an even more evil version of Dwyer after she woke up. As an adult, Grace traveled back in time to carry out their quest to end all metas with her uncle. Dubbed Cicada II by Team Flash, Grace was far more ruthless than her predecessor. She even took out her uncle when he tried to dissuade her from her path. The Cicadas have very similar powers, and they both expertly wield them over the metas they target. Yet it's Grace who becomes the true monster. Clifford Devo was the first big bad the Flash fought that wasn't a speedster. His meta power didn't give him strength or other superhuman physical powers either. Instead, Devo had the power of superhuman intelligence. He could see all sides of a situation and easily stayed 5 steps ahead of Barry and his pals. And as a result, he beat them multiple times. He even managed to successfully frame Barry for crimes he didn't commit. Eventually, Devo started to use his abilities to drain other metas of their powers so he could use them for himself. This made him massively powerful. He managed to take out multiple members of Team Flash before his reign of terror was over. In fact, he became so overpowered for a time he was one of the Flash's most dangerous adversaries. However, with his increased intellect came an unshakable arrogance and an inability to emphasize with others. This resulted in an unhinged worldview that eventually led to Devo's downfall. What can you say about a giant psychic genius gorilla that hasn't been said before? Grodd wields all the strength and skill a gorilla of his size would. Needless to say, that would be scary powerful on its own. But Grodd is also brilliant, so when he attacks Central City, he tends to have a pretty solid plan of action. On top of that, he can tap into the minds of others, making him even more difficult to overcome. In fact, in his most recent appearance, it took King Shark and Team Flash working together to successfully bring him down. Despite all the bad things he's done, Grodd shows flashes of good. He's been loyal to those who treat him kindly, and even had a bit of a King Kong thing going on with Caitlin for a while. However, before he gained his meta powers, he was subject to cruel scientific experiments. Because of that, he sees most people as bad and reacts accordingly. While Team Flash has overcome him multiple times and have sent him everywhere from Earth-2 to Argus, he always returns to Central City. It's anyone's guess how Grodd will reappear next. The only thing that seems certain is that it will happen. The main villain of Season 3 was the speedster Savitar. And for much of the season, the big question was what was the true identity of this menace who called himself the God of Speed? After all, he was faster than Barry and knew how to get Barry right where he lived by threatening Iris. Of course, the reason Savitar was so successful at getting under Barry's skin was that he was actually a version of Barry. And he used that knowledge to torture him and make him doubt himself. While the speedster with a secret identity was a tedious trope of the show by the time Savitar showed up, his powers were undeniably formidable. He even managed to manipulate an unsuspecting Julian by taking on the guise of Dr. Alchemy and freeing Savitar from the Speed Force. Hunter Zolomon, the alter ego of Season 2 Big Bad Zoom, was scary before he gained meta powers. His backstory paralleled Barry's in many ways. He was orphaned on Earth-2 at a young age. However, unlike Barry, no one took him in, and after growing up in an orphanage, a resentful, angry Zolomon took multiple lives. So when he became a speedster, it opened up a world of possibilities to him. Zoom went on to dominate his Earth and steal the speed of other speedsters. Still wanting more power, he presented himself to Team Flash on Earth-1 as Jay Garrick in a ploy to get closer to them. They trusted him, and he helped them as Jay Garrick while tormenting them as Zoom. He even got Caitlin to fall in love with him. All the while though, Zolomond's plan was to steal Barry's speed and become even faster. While his true identity was finally uncovered, Zolomond dropped all pretense of friendship with anyone at Star Labs. He terrorized the citizens of Central City and kidnapped Caitlin in an effort to make her part of his twisted plans. His confidence in his powers wasn't misplaced. Zoom overcame Barry multiple times, and while Barry beat him in the end, he needed the help of Speed Force's time wraiths to do it. When it comes to the most powerful villain on The Flash, there really is no competition. The Reverse Flash easily tops them all. Fans who've watched The Flash from the beginning have seen multiple permutations of the man also known as Ebbard Thawne. And the thing that each one of these permutations has in common is that they're all evil. Thawne was the very first big bad Barry Allen faced after developing his metahuman powers. He disguised himself as Harrison Wells in order to get close and to mentor Barry. However, Thawne had also been ensuring Barry's Flash future for a long time. He even took out Barry's mother when he was young to put Barry on the path to becoming a speedster. Given everything he did, it's no wonder Barry sees Thawne as his arch nemesis to this day. And the fact that Thawne managed to manipulate Barry's daughter the way he did makes Thawne even more diabolical. He's still out there somewhere, and when he rears his head again, he's likely to cause more horror and mayhem. Which of these Flash villains do you think is the most powerful? Did we leave any especially powerful villains out? Make your voice heard in the comments. And before you go, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to The Binger. Thanks for watching.